It's Dr. Livingood, time to make health simple. We're talking food simple today, and if you're a bread lover, tune in. Taking some Sunbeam Texas Toast, or maybe your favorite Wonder Bread or white bread from the store, dissecting the label so you are well educated on some sneaky, hidden, maybe symptom-causing toxins that are found in that label. I'm going to give you the alternative and what you should be looking for. So in this rendition of Eat This, Not That, let's dive in. If you are a bread lover, my wife's a bread lover, lots of us are bread lovers. It's not that you can never have bread again, but it's got some significant impact. So I went online shopping and found the Sunbeam giant sandwich bread, sometimes referred to as Texas Toast. Maybe you've had this one. Maybe it's at its counterpart of more of a Wonder Bread. And you know this, when it hits the system, it is turning into sugar in the body within 4 seconds. That's all it takes. So if you are struggling with weight, that's a big deal. If you have problems with your liver and there is triglyceride issues going on in your blood work, this is a big one to pay attention to, because these types of food is what will go straight to the liver, which you'll find out in a second, increase insulin levels, put you in a state of a broken metabolism, put the weight on very quickly, which increases risk of heart disease, diabetes, and cancer, the big metabolic conditions of our day. So let's dive into this label. So I just went, Target, wherever you're shopping at, I just found one quickly online that would be findable for a lot of people. Now I skip over this part of any label. Now here's why, because you can make this part of the label sound really nice. You can lower the amount of sodium, you can lower the amount of sugar, you can lower or change the amount of fat based on what they constitute as a serving size. So this is a trick that a lot of big food companies, which I think we share as a common enemy, that has taken advantage of you to get you to eat more. On the front of the package, there's a lot of misinformation. On this nutrition facts panel, there can be misinformation because they're literally just changing that serving size. If one slice of bread is a serving or 2 slices of bread is a serving, that's going to change what those things say. I see this a lot with drinks. It's a 32-ounce Gatorade or a larger soda, but there will be 3 or 4 servings in it. When you read the nutrition facts label, oftentimes we miss the serving size and we think there's a lot less sugar, a lot less sodium in it. So just skip past this part, and I want to get you, if you've ever followed me before, to always get to this right here. Now this is the ingredient label. So I took a snapshot on it so I can dissect it and break it down for you. So here it comes, boom. All right, now we're in. Let me break this down. You're gonna start to understand it. I don't think by any means you're gonna remember all of these ingredients, but you're gonna start to identify a few. General rule is, if you have a hard time pronouncing it, it probably shouldn't go into your body, and the less ingredients ingredient label has, the better it is for you. There's a couple key ones you're gonna start to remember, which is why I'm going to be doing this more and more to help you to really understand how to pick out the right food at the grocery store. And because this is compromising your health so much. So right out of the gates, we're seeing our unbleached enriched flour, right? And so anytime it is enriched, that means it has to be added to something back in. They've literally taken the actual shell of the wheat, of the grain. They removed all the fiber. What's left is the white part of the grain to make this white bread, which so many of us crave so much. And when you do that, you remove all the fiber, and that's what makes it turn instantly into sugar when it hits your mouth. There are enzymes in your mouth that break down these types of white grains, starches, breads in seconds. Within 4 seconds, it's already digesting it. So your sugar spike happens almost immediately. That starts getting absorbed into the bloodstream. One of the quickest ways to increase your blood sugar level is to eat white bread like this. Now, they fortify it to try to add some of those things back in, and that's where you're going to start to see these types of B vitamins. Niacin, they're going to do minerals, they're going to do iron, they're going to do thiamine, B1s. They're going to put a lot of these different vitamins in. Now, what these are doing is they're trying to refortify and put the nutrients in that naturally occurs in a grain. The problem is these are synthetic. So when you are putting a synthetic vitamin in, a lot of people have absorption and conversion issues with this. A good example of this is the folic acid found in this material, in this bread. And that folic acid has to be converted to folate and to be activated in your body to help absorb B12, to help support your nerves and your blood flow. So many different benefits of folic acid, B9, but it's not in its active form. So about 1/3 of the population has a gene mutation that doesn't allow them to convert things like folic acid very well into that methylated folate form. So I always like to be sure, especially with something like folate, you're taking it in its already methylated converted form so that you aren't dealing with absorption issues and you are getting the benefits of much needed B vitamins, the energy they provide, the heart benefits they provide, so many different benefits of the B vitamins. Synthetic versions aren't going to convert, aren't going to have the alignment with your body naturally in the first place. So right out of the gates, these are smaller things, but we are seeing a few things happening. So let's keep going with our breakdown here. Now we got some water. Thank goodness. We got, I hope it's filtered. It's probably not, but water. That one passes the Dr. Livingood test. High fructose corn syrup is next though, and this is the big dog. High fructose corn syrup has a really tough time being digested inside of the body, and it goes straight to your liver, and it starts a fat production factory. It triggers the production of triglycerides and cholesterol inside the body. Now you might be thinking like, how does fructose, a sugar, form something that raises my cholesterol? Well, a triglyceride is a fat molecule attached to a sugar glycerol, another word for sugar molecule. So that's how it's actually created. Your liver is storing energy. And high fructose corn syrup has so much of this energy in it, the body doesn't know what to do with it. This is a main problem and a main cause of fatty liver. It is also a main cause of high triglycerides. Okay, so this is the one that we really want to pay attention to and get out of the diet. It contributes to diabetes, inflammation, high triglycerides, and like I said, non-alcoholic fatty liver disease, which is just exploding. 90 million Americans are dealing with that problem. A lot of times you don't know it. These are silent killers. That's why I always teach, you can't judge your health on how you feel. And I don't know if you're gonna feel great after pounding down white bread like this, but judging your health and how you feel, you can feel good one day and still get a cancer diagnosis. You can feel good and have a heart attack suddenly. You can feel good and have negative blood work. So oftentimes we don't feel things like our liver taking a hit. Nothing does it faster than high fructose corn syrup. So when that is involved, I move that bread aside, but let's keep going. So that's a big one that you're looking for if that occurs in the bread. Now we go to these contains 2% or less of, and this is kind of like, you know, a little bit a slight of just like, oh, there's not that much of it in there, but it doesn't take much of these next ingredients to really start having an impact. Other big one that I teach a ton on are oils. I think oils are more important today than sugars. I think that these are congesting our cells and causing more inflammation and disease than sugar's even causing. Now I know sugar driving diabetes and heart disease, but congested rancid oils like soybean, to take a soybean and convert it into something that can be used, eaten, put into breads like this, it's a big process. And the way that that oil starts in the soybean is very unstable. And when you heat it and you process it and you turn it into an oil where you get it in a container or you can put it into a recipe, it's already rancid. It's already been changed so much that the oil has gone rancid, gone bad. And now you put it into your body and your body's forced to use that oil to try to make cells. And so your body is attempting to make 300 million cells every minute. And every one of your cells has a layer of fat around it. Isn't that incredible? And so your body needs good healthy fat to produce healthy cells, but if all we're giving it is a toxic form of a fat, guess what the body's forced to make? Toxic fatty layers around the cells. Now why that's important, one, they're toxic, but nutrients can then not easily get into the cell. So you become nutrient deficient eating foods like this. So not only do they not contain good nutrients, they're also blocking your other nutrition. And then on top of that, toxins can't get out. That's what leads to congestion, toxicity issues, as well as a lot of inflammation. In Time magazine years ago, when my dad initially lost his health, which is why I do what I do, they stated that inflammation is at the root of 98% of all disease. And it's these oils that are driving that explosion and that fire in our bodies. Next, we get into the dough conditioners. Now, this is the biggest one to pay attention to if you are eating out or if you're buying bread. These dough conditioners, there's so much negativity around them. Let me highlight a couple. The first one I want to highlight is SSL, sodium stearoyl lactylate. Now, not one that you're going to know, like, it's just a mouthful to even say. That's why I kind of said at the beginning, if you really can't read it, you should probably start to question it. But I want to point out a couple of these. And sometimes when I give them acronyms, the SSL starts to help you to remember it. It's an emulsifier and a stabilizer that's found in a lot of baked goods. Okay, it's going to emulsify it, it's going to stabilize it. You're using a lot of these to keep oil and water mixed together. That's why it ends up in our foods. So for this type of bread to have the texture that it has, this goes a long way. That's why they use so many of these dough conditioners to make it real soft and gooey. And remember as a kid, I used to eat white bread. You could ball it up. You ever do that? You just eat it that's what people love, is that texture about white bread is one of the main things. However, you start to realize how that's actually made, and it's not natural. So what this actually does, this SLS, is it causes as adverse effects as a food intolerant. And so the body doesn't really tolerate it well. So you improperly digest the food, and it starts to create chronic symptoms of inflammation, digestive distress. So if you are one, or maybe your husband is, or you're watching this, or your wife, and you have acid reflux and you have indigestion, especially after eating meals, or digestive discomfort or bloating, this is one of the things that's doing it. It's emulsifying and stabilizing. It's affecting the water content inside your gut. And so it creates a lot of digestive distress. Now, it could be way worse than that, but that's a big deal for a lot of people. Now you're having to take an antacid or Pepcid. You're taking a drug for the food that you actually just ate because it's full of these types of toxins. So that's one dough conditioner that I wanted to highlight. The next one that I wanted to highlight as we move down here a little bit is datum. And it's never good when you know that is definitely not a food, right? And the fact that they had to give it an acronym just should be a big alarm going on. Datum is an acronym that stands for diacetyl tartaric acid esters of monoglycerides. When it gets to that stage, it's just not right going into the body. You can rest assured. But here, let me give you a little research on it of what it actually does. Now, some of them will say it is derived from plant sources, but when they say plant sources, they mean soybean and they mean ethanol. So this is coming from corn or coming from soybean, and it's a derivative of ethanol. And so they're putting it in there as a dough conditioner, but we're already on a bad track with this. And so highly processed, oftentimes used in baked goods. And there's evidence that's starting to mount against this thing, because what it does in one study that was conducted in 2002, and they did this on rats, it showed that it can contribute to heart fibrosis and adrenal overgrowth. When you're exposed to this, it also leads to permeability issues. So that's actually the second main food in this that leads to leaky gut issues. High fructose corn does it, corn syrup does it, pokes holes in the gut. Now datum does it. So you have two chemicals going in your body that are making your gut more leaky, and it starts to separate the digestive tract just a little bit, pokes little holes in it, creates permeability problems. Now things that aren't supposed to get into your bloodstream are getting in, and things that should get in aren't. And that creates autoimmune related responses and inflammatory responses, which are exploding in this country, and it's because of these types of foods that are contributing to it. So datum, the animal studies show it's not good. There's irritability to the skin, nausea, abdominal pain, aches, fatigue, headache from the chemical exposure of datum. So that's a big one found in this actual bread. And one more, if I were to highlight one more, be right near the end here, this calcium propionate. And a lot of times the last ingredient on a food label, that's the one you really want to look for, because they kind of slide that in there, and they'll usually use the parentheses to say this was added for this reason, right? It's an antifungal, or it stops spoilage, or it's some heavy preservative like a benzoate derivative. In this case, calcium propionate is to retard spoilage. Well, there's actually a PubMed research study that they did. And so with some of these ingredients, you oftentimes don't see a PubMed research study, which is a double-blind, highest standard of studies. And they looked at children, 27 of them, and the children were under a specific diet where they removed additives and they removed these chemicals, and they were very observant of making sure that there was these additives and these ingredients and food dyes in the kids' food. And then they introduced just the calcium propionate into the children's diet and watched what happened. And there was a significant increase in the sleep disturbances, inability to focus, inattention, restlessness, and irritability in the children that did it. Common bread preservative. Check it out. Here's the study right here showing it. There's the calcium, and then here's where it's showing irritability, restlessness, and attention. So the behaviors worsen significantly with those. Significant difference. So normally you're not seeing that level of research behind these toxic ingredients, So I hope just with that little bit, I've convinced you that this is probably not the right choice. You might have to convince your Barry or your Sally at home, and that's what I refer to as, the stubborn husband that's like, but I love my Texas toast, but I love my Wonder Bread. Yes, but it's not wonderful for your heart and for your gut and for your liver, and so we got to start making these better choices and moving the right way. I think the best choice for a lot of us is to avoid bread for a period of time, but if you have to have one, which one do you pick? Like, which one's in the Livingood household? I'm glad you asked. So let's not eat this, okay? Let's not eat this. What do we eat? Well, here's one of my favorite brands at the moment. They have some good options, and this is Dave's Killer Bread, and you can really find this now at almost any grocery store, and they have a lot of different choices here. You still could find a few things that get off, like white bread done right. You're gonna see some things trending the right way. There's still a couple things to look out for, and then I'll show you actually which one is my favorite of these. But let's just scroll right down to the ingredients label. Okay, so we have organic flours, and these are going to be whole grain organic. When it says organic like that, you're getting the entire part of these different grains, and so some good ones. Spelt doesn't increase your blood sugar levels, nothing close to what white would. Quinoa, you're gonna have a lot of minerals and vitamins involved with that. So these are in the full form. So when you leave the fiber on the grain, your body lowers the blood sugar levels with that fiber. The nutrients get absorbed better. You don't have to fortify and add the nutrients back in. You get nature's benefit of it. Now, when we keep moving down, water, all right, that's the good stuff. They do put a little bit of organic cane sugar, but that, again, that's way better than what we saw as the high fructose corn syrup, you see? If you're gonna choose one, that would be better. That's still gonna spike insulin levels, but if you have to have white bread, you're craving it, you have a recipe that calls for it, here's a better option, because now you're not tanking your liver like high fructose corn syrup would, and organic cane sugar doesn't poke holes in your gut. Okay, we got organic cracked whole wheat. Again, we got the fiber included there. Now, the only knock I have on this one is this organic expeller pressed canola oil. And the problem I have with that is a rancid oil still. So there are breads out there that don't have any oil in them, and they are white breads, and they are delicious. I will show you a different Dave's Killer Bread. It's not gonna be white, it's gonna be more of a whole grain that does not have this oil in it. So that is the downside. But I want to start to show you options that you can pick, and then we're not getting those dough conditioners. It's just sea salts and a little bit more of the flour, vinegar, acerola cherry powder. We're actually getting beneficial vitamin C from that. That's fantastic. Sesame flour and some enzymes. No conditioners whatsoever. Like, what a massive difference between that and this. Look at all these extras that have to be put in just to give you that texture. And so if you're, berries, I don't care, I just want that texture. Well, there's got to be a consequence at some point. Then it leads to bigger problems and diseases. That's what we're trying to avoid. Or Sally of just like, well, what are we going to eat then? We can't have anything, right? These are the people that live in my head that I try to speak to get them to go in the right direction. Well, maybe you try this one, or my favorite actually with Dave's Bread, if we go back to it, is actually not that one. I like the good seed one. And so you're going to get a lot more seeds in it. What I love about seeds is they're very high in omega-3s, and these are anti-inflammatory. So not only is your bread not giving that sugar spike, but it's actually fighting inflammation. So we're seeing these organic cracked wheats and the full organic wheats up top, and grains and seeds. There's flaxseed and sunflower seeds and sesame seeds. And as long as you don't have a sensitivity to these are fantastic. It does have a little bit of cane sugar in it, but there is no oil in this one. And so I love this of oilless bread. That is your ultimate, because again, I think that's a bigger problem than the sugars. Is organic cane sugar approved if you're trying to lower your diabetes, beat a blood pressure problem, and lose 50 pounds? Then no, I would avoid the bread altogether. Like I said, I would avoid cane sugar altogether until you get your goals met, and then this is the type of food that you can add back in. Avoid the Texas Toast, the Wonder Breads, and reach for something more like this. I have no affiliation. This is just one that I know of. But the point being is you can go to the grocery store, and I've done it many times, and regardless of what the front says, regardless of what brand it is, just go straight to the ingredients label. Start working your way through those ingredients. You're looking for some of those emulsifiers, those bread conditioners. You don't need them in real bread. You're looking for grains that are fully intact. Organic, whole grain wheat, or sprouted wheats, sprouted grains and seeds. Those are the good ones. And then no bad oil. If you can do that, you can enjoy bread still without all the toxic harms. I don't think we should overdo it. You need to hit your goals first. That's what I'm here to help you do, but this makes health simple. So avoid the sun bread, the Texas Toast, the Wonder Bread. Let's reach for a better option like Dave's Killer Bread. And if you want to actually go shopping with me and see how I do this, I actually put a video right here that you should watch next where we go to the grocery store and I'll walk you around and show you how to do it to make health simple. See you next time.